Good evening, I'm Andrew Chen.
And I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Tonight, despite restrictions, COVID case counts raise alarms.
We let the virus off the hook.
We're tracking the responses in multiple provinces.
Also tonight, a vaccine trial has good news for young and old.
That's the group we really want to try to protect.
Video from a hockey dressing room every parent needs to see.
Plus, on race in America and the race for the White House.
This is not just about an election in the United States. It's about a direction in the United States.
My conversation with the Reverend Al Sharpton. This is The National.
When it comes to Canada's path with the coronavirus, no one has a crystal ball, but the message from officials across the country today is crystal clear.
We are crossing a critical threshold, and whatever we are doing to stem the tide, it needs to start working now. Ontario and Quebec's case numbers remain Canada's worst, though the trend in their average daily cases from a week ago is different. Up 20% in Ontario, down 10% in Quebec. But in both, the number of people getting tested has declined. In the West, it's straightforward. Today's numbers in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba all feed into a clear trend straight up. Now, in Manitoba, it's not just the case numbers are spiraling. Hospitals are seeing the surge as well. And now Cameron McIntosh shows us, as officials urge caution from people, they feel pressure to act.
The rates just keep climbing. Of every 100 Manitobans tested, 7 are positive. In Winnipeg, it's worse. 8 of 100.
And what you see there is a perfect storm.
On the front lines, Dr. Philip Legacy-Weens sees cracks in the system, rising numbers and staff already straining to keep up.
I really see that as a potential breakpoint for the system.
Frustrations echoed today by health authorities.
831 cases in a single week. On this trajectory, we expect to have more than 5,000 cases by the end of this week.
So much of it, says Dr. Brent Rusin, people flouting the rules.
We've seen funerals with many people attending, leading to a large number of close contacts and cases. We've had individuals who had symptoms for a week, got tested but did not self-isolate. A known positive case had a gathering at their home.
Medical staff are also getting sick because patients aren't disclosing symptoms, causing further stress that could break the system.
If we continue to see increases like this, we will likely need to implement some of the measures that we took in the spring.
So grow up and stop going out there and giving people COVID.
Running out of options, Brian Pallister is reluctant to force more closures.
A government can't protect you from this virus. What good is it to have a province where we reduce COVID and we have no jobs?
Legacy-Weens says time is running out.
We really need to do something dramatic.
For a week now, Manitoba's Code Orange restrictions have restricted all gatherings to just 5 people. So far, authorities haven't seen the decreases they say they're still hoping to see in order to keep the province from moving to Code Red. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
BC and Alberta don't report cases over the weekend, but the numbers tonight were high in both provinces. And along with the news came action.
A mandatory 15-person limit on all social gatherings in Edmonton and Calgary.
In Alberta, that limit is effective immediately for 1 month and applies to social events, but not to normal activity at businesses like restaurants and theaters. In BC, a similar response.
Every gathering needs to be with our household and safe 6 only. And for some large families, even that may be too many.
Families now have to stick to themselves, plus a circle of 6. As with Alberta, businesses stay open. The target here is private gatherings, which the province says are driving transmission.
Now, in Quebec's red zones like Montreal and Quebec City, businesses like bars and gyms have been closed for weeks. This week, some had hoped to reopen, but Alison Northcott brings us the cold, hard reality and the desperate reaction.
After nearly a month limited to takeout and delivery, Michael Lafay was eager to welcome customers back inside his 2 restaurants.
We're just trying to stay afloat. The rent is really expensive. We still have to pay the business taxes. That's really high at the end of the year.
Now, with restrictions extended, he's worried about the future of his business.
We've been able to stabilize the situation.
But Quebec's premier says that's not enough to open things back up. So thousands of businesses will remain closed and private gatherings off limits.
We think that it will take another 28 days to see a reduction.
But some independent gym and fitness studios say they can't wait and that they're ready to defy restrictions and reopen anyway, arguing they're a crucial service for physical and mental health.
Seeing all the distress between my clients and customers and their plea to be open and for us to be there is morally, I cannot stay closed.
Some other gyms are against that tactic and say they'll continue talks with the government about reopening. The premier says businesses that break the rules will be fined.
The moment we're going to relax a little bit, we're going to see the growth again.
This infectious disease specialist says when there's a lot of community transmission, it can be hard to identify where infections are coming from.
So the only approach that we have right now to minimize the consequences are to decrease the occasions where people are going to be assembled in a group.
And the province says measures like that will have to last until it sees a steady decline in cases. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
An Ontario MPP is apologizing after he posted photos online showing him breaking the province's COVID rules. Sam Osterhoff is seen posing for a group photo at a banquet hall. No masks, no physical distancing. It's led to all kinds of backlash, including calls for his resignation. Osterhoff has apologized for failing to wear a mask, and the premier says he accepts that. So this comes after Ontario's record-breaking case spike on the weekend and another 851 cases today. As Lauren Pelly explains, the big question now, is this the peak or still part of the climb?
In Ontario, cold weather hasn't stopped the crowds. While the 7-day average of new COVID-19 cases keeps rising, residents are still shopping, dining, gathering.
We're also seeing some of the impacts from Thanksgiving several weeks ago.
Take this outbreak north of Toronto. A family of 12 gathered together for 2 weeks around Thanksgiving. Some had symptoms and 10 of them wound up infected, including 3 infants. The virus also spread to another household and a workplace, causing 6 more infections.
Every time we socialize with anyone beyond our immediate household, there's a risk that we enter into.
It's now been 2 weeks since those kinds of holiday gatherings and since Ontario put in tightened restrictions in several hot zones. So the province is now at a crossroads. Will COVID-19 cases keep surging, or will those restrictions be enough to slow the spread? In Toronto, which reported more than a third of Ontario's new cases on Monday, the city's medical officer of health says answering those questions will take time.
We are hoping that in the next, couple of weeks, we should be seeing some of the impacts.
If people widespread start to ignore all of this guidance, then I think we will be in very big trouble.
This infectious disease specialist warns of a looming tough decision.
The only real alternative that a government has at that point is the thing that none of us want to return to, which is stay in your house.
For now, to curb cases and keep the economy running.
We're going right down the middle of the road. We have to have a happy balance.
A balance that's proving fragile. If cases keep surging, the province may have to tip the scales toward protecting public health, whatever that takes. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, now we've asked Dr. Zain Chagla to join us because, Dr. Chagla, I'm wondering if you can speak to how we ever find that sweet spot between restricting and opening things up, especially, when all of our infection data is generally a week or 2 old from the point of exposure.
Yeah, so public health units have a huge responsibility here, and really that transparency of what's happening in local communities is what's going to drive things the most in terms of these restrictions. We know from other settings that things like restaurants and indoor fitness facilities can be at risk, but they're not necessarily in every community causing the transmission. As we see cases rising in the community, certainly the risk of that goes up. But it's important to know a community that's dealt with 50 cases from a single outbreak is going to be much different than a community where there's 50 cases that are untraced and really causing widespread community spread, where the restaurants are more at risk of having an adverse event than the outbreak. So I think communities and public health units really need to be transparent about the goalposts. And it's things like where cases are coming from, the absolute number of cases, healthcare utilization, the ability to contact trace, and the ability to get tests to turn around in a given time. And if we are getting into troubles with multiple domains, then yes, it's time to scale back. But at the same time, to be transparent and say when to scale back up and when we've hit those goalposts in terms of having some success in controlling them.
Dr. Chagla, thank you so much for your time.
No problem. All the best.
Across Europe, too, COVID caseloads are setting new records and prompting a fresh warning from the World Health Organization. As Renee Filipponi tells us, that second wave is already straining healthcare systems and people's patience.
At a French ICU nearing capacity, staff work on a man in serious condition. He is 36, says this nurse. It's rare to see someone so young. There are only 3 empty beds left. Our concern is we will have more patients than ICU beds, says the head of the department, who worries that will happen in the coming weeks. France is recording more than 50,000 new cases a day. But the government scientific advisor says the real number could be twice that. The country already has a national curfew, and the government is looking at more restrictions. This expert says France has already lost control. If we think it will get worse for several weeks, then that is unacceptable, says Dr. Eric Combe. Belgium is struggling with one of the highest per capita death rates in Europe. It has expanded curfews and shut down museums and theaters.
Closing the cultural stuff is a little bit nonsense because I think they should concentrate their energy more in another stuff.
Today, the WHO was optimistic that Europe won't need national lockdowns, but says the situation is serious.
We are seeing very, very high positivity rates and an increasing lack of capacity to do any effective form of contact tracing.
With the second wave, curfews are being used to try and control the spread. In Spain now, everyone must be home by 11 at night.
I don't believe that any government or any expert knows still what we are doing.
It's that sentiment that's led to protests in Italy. Some getting violent in Naples recently over new rules closing restaurants at 6 p.m. As each country is now attempting to get control of a virus that is yet again drastically altering life in Europe. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
In a show of opposition solidarity, a Conservative motion passed today that will allow for a serious look at the federal government's pandemic response. Despite Liberal objections, it calls for a sweeping disclosure of documents.
We're disappointed that the opposition parties didn't listen to our health experts, to people from the private sector, from the companies producing the vaccine.
The government argued the motion would jeopardize Canada's ability to secure adequate supplies of PPE and COVID vaccines and says it fears commercial secrets could be released inadvertently.
Well, let's turn to Saskatchewan's election now, where the CBC News Decision Desk is projecting a Saskatchewan Party majority government. Bonnie Allen is at the party's headquarters in Saskatoon. And Bonnie, the mood there must be pretty upbeat.
Yes, there is a lot of excitement, although you don't actually see it in this room because we're only allowed to have 30 people here. But I could hear the cheers from throughout the hotel when that projection was made. Voters sending the Saskatchewan Party back to the legislature with a majority government for a 4th term. It is a remarkable feat, one that we have not seen in Saskatchewan since the days of Tommy Douglas, and with a considerable chunk of the popular vote at a level that is almost unheard of in Saskatchewan. In Canada. This has really also been a test of Scott Moe's leadership because, of course, the Saskatchewan Party had 3 landslide victories in the past, but those were under the charismatic Brad Wall. Moe only inherited the job when Wall stepped aside, and this was truly his first test running the election as the leader. Now, this party enjoys overwhelming support in the rural areas. The battleground ridings really are in the urban areas where the NDP was hoping to pick up some seats. It went into this election with just 13. And in some of those tight races, they may not be decided tonight because, of course, the mail-in ballots won't be counted tonight, not until Wednesday or even next week.
Right. And so you talk about the virtually unprecedented nature of this election. And with a fourth straight majority that we're talking about here, I mean, it's hard to think about challenges ahead, perhaps, for the governing party. But are there?
Well, absolutely, there are challenges. First of all, we're in the middle of a pandemic. The Saskatchewan Party has made a lot of promises, some short-term spending, but also billions of dollars of investments in new schools, hospitals, highways, and this is all while we have a huge deficit of $24 billion. So there's a lot of promises and expectations. The question now will be, can they meet those? All right, Bonnie Allen in Saskatoon, thank you so much. Now, this was also voting day in parts of Toronto, with 2 federal ridings up for grabs in a pair of by-elections. In Toronto Centre, the CBC decision desk is projecting Liberal candidate Marcy Ian will be the winner, defeating Green Party leader Annamie Paul. Ian will fill the seat left vacant by Bill Morneau in August. Meanwhile, things remain too close to call in York Centre, where the Liberal and Conservative candidates are neck and neck.
Leading the BC Liberals has been a great honour, but now it's time for me to make room for someone else to take over this role.
After the BC Liberal Party's worst defeat in a generation, leader Andrew Wilkinson says he will be stepping down. Now, results aren't final yet, but in every region, the Liberals won a smaller share of the vote than in the last election. The NDP's majority is projected right now to include 55 of the province's 87 ridings.
The nomination of Coney Barrett of Indiana to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is confirmed.
And a divided U.S. Senate handed President Trump a victory tonight, confirming his nominee to the Supreme Court. Democrats opposed Amy Coney Barrett's appointment, but the majority Republicans had no problem pushing it through. And as you can see in these pictures from the White House tonight, officials wasted no time in swearing her in.
It's been nearly 2 years since Meng Wanzhou was arrested at Vancouver Airport. The Huawei executive faces extradition to the United States on fraud charges. Well, today her lawyers were back in court arguing her charter rights were violated the moment she got off the plane. Briar Stewart has the story.
Morning.
Morning. Just how Meng Wanzhou's arrest unfolded was the focus of today's hearing.
What Meng Wanzhou's lawyers will be trying to do is to probe the extent to which Canadian officials, at the behest of the Trump administration, engaged in an illegal search, an illegal interrogation, and an illegal detention of Meng Wanzhou.
The court heard from Constable Winston Yep, the RCMP officer who carried out the arrest. While the warrant called for police to immediately arrest her, and there was talk about doing it on the plane, Yep says they decided against that, in part because of passenger safety and police safety. Instead, the CBSA questioned her for nearly 3 hours and obtained her passcodes for her electronic devices. Those codes were turned over to the RCMP, which the Crown has said was a mistake. The RCMP officer testified that they never asked the CBSA to search her devices, but Meng's lawyers are arguing that there was a deliberate attempt to extract information and that her charter rights were breached. Legal experts say CBSA officers have the right to question a passenger, but the court has to decide whether the agency overstepped its role.
Was there a good faith examination going on? Was there a fishing expedition going on the part of Canada Border Services to give this information to other government agencies?
The court is expected to hear from 10 people involved in her arrest, and some believe this argument around her charter rights is the strongest part of her defense.
I'm pretty sure that Justice Minister David Lametti is watching this case today and weighing the evidence that's building from the cross-examination of the police and border officers to see whether there is, in fact, a legal problem here.
If so, the minister could intervene and halt the proceedings. If not, the case continues, and a final decision on extradition could take years. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, Hockey Calgary has launched an investigation into a locker room incident involving young players. Now, everything turned out fine in this case, but it was caught on camera. And you'll see why we wanted to give you a heads up about some possibly disturbing video. Here's Carolyn Dunn.
26, 27, 28.
Dumb and dangerous. A player bent over to cut off blood supply to his head, then hoisted up against the wall to finish the job. While his teammates cheer and laugh, the unconscious player shows what doctors call signs of seizure beats, then luckily regains consciousness.
On a concrete surface, that could result in quite a head bonk if the boy or whoever was doing it fell to the ground quickly. He also recovered very quickly, and that's usually the case, but not always.
In fact, some kids have died from these so-called choking or fainting games. And by now, many hockey families in Calgary have seen the video of it happening in their own arena.
It's just sad. Like, I don't know if that was just a bunch of kids having fun and goofing around and taking it too far, or if it was something, you know, a little more than that. I find that pretty disappointing. Like, I like to think our kids have better character than that. So, yeah, I guess ultimately just kind of disappointing.
Hockey Calgary has launched an investigation.
We are very disappointed to see that type of behavior. So there's that. I guess the other concern from us is the supervision around the arena. So that's something we need to investigate as well and determine why there wasn't proper supervision.
The price for the players involved and absentee coaches will likely be suspension, but there could be unintended consequences.
I also worry, given the widespread sharing of the video, that this does potentially create a copycat phenomenon and might lead other groups of young kids to try this out at home.
Anything but a game. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
And some sad news from Edmonton, where today beloved sports figure Joey Moss has died. A fixture for decades in both the NHL Oilers and the Edmonton football team's locker rooms, Moss, who has Down syndrome, got his start because of a high-profile recommendation from Wayne Gretzky. Tonight, the Great One sent his condolences through a Facebook message calling Moss the spirit of the team and of the entire Oilers community. He was 57 years old.
Cautious optimism from two leading vaccine makers and two different approaches. Next on The National, weighing the risk of releasing a vaccine too soon.
Also, a week from the U.S. election, a conversation with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
This is not just about an election in the United States. It's about a direction in the United States.
What happened after the calls for change and promises to support Black businesses?
The world has seen us, unfortunately, due to something horrific.
We're back into. With COVID cases rising all over the world, everyone is looking to vaccine researchers for a solution. And today, some news on that front. Christine Birak with some early results from one leading manufacturer and concerns over another's plan.
In a world desperate for good news, a drug company manufacturing doses of a leading COVID vaccine says it's showing signs of promise, especially in older adults.
The fact that they're getting a decent immune response in older populations is obviously good. That's the group we really want to try to protect.
Tens of thousands worldwide have been injected with the Oxford University vaccine or a placebo as part of their phase 3 clinical trial. Citing early results, drug maker AstraZeneca is suggesting the vaccine is prompting the immune system to attack this coronavirus, and with fewer adverse reactions than expected.
We're obviously a long way away, though, from knowing exactly how well it works and what the side effect profile is and how long-lasting the immunity is. All that stuff is going to have to come out later.
But AstraZeneca's approach seems to differ from another leading vaccine maker. Moderna is saying with 2 months of trial data demonstrating safety and efficacy, it plans to file for emergency use authorization for its vaccine as early as late November, early December. Health policy experts say the move would end Moderna's clinical trial.
Ultimately, that could lead us down the wrong path. On the other hand, if we wait too long, people are going to suffer.
Each of the trials reports into
a recent U.S. Food and Drug Administration meeting expressed concern around emergency use of experimental vaccines, noting if trials stop, no one will be able to compare results or find out which works best in specific populations.
Some of the vaccine makers, particularly the smaller ones, are interested in getting out into the market as quickly as possible because it basically solidifies their financial status.
Every vaccine maker wants to be the first. The fear is if one company is allowed to stop its trial early, others will follow suit. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
So you can keep up to date on all the COVID vaccines being developed by heading to our website. What phase are they in? Who's making them? What about Canadian trials? It's all at cbcnews.ca/vaccine tracker.
And next, the national interview with Reverend Al Sharpton. How would you describe your relationship with Donald Trump?
We've always had this up and down relationship.
The civil rights activist on the decision facing Americans on Election Day. Right now, people in the U.S. are steeling themselves, preparing for next week's presidential election, and the anger and accusations sure to follow. And all that anxiety piled on top of a divisive summer where anti-racism protests exposed the country's hurt and fear. Then and now, Reverend Al Sharpton is leading a push for change.
You cannot defend yourself against a pack of Skittles and iced tea.
There is nobody quite like him. Depending on who you ask, Reverend Al Sharpton is either an activist and leader.
It's time for politicians to come out their office. It's time for us to go down and stop this madness.
Or an agitator, an opportunist.
We won't back down. We won't be trumped.
He is best known for speaking his mind, amplifying black voices, a go-to for black American families seeking justice.
Say her name. Say her name.
But he is also a political kingmaker. Democrats seek his blessing. He served as an advisor to Barack Obama, and through radio, television, and his involvement in decades of activism, has an audience in the millions. What else would you expect from the godson of the godfather of soul, James Brown?
We need to have a conversation about your racism, about your bigotry, about your hate.
But over the years, Sharpton has made enemies, and most recently has picked the biggest fight of all, making an arch rival of the President of the United States. With the highest stakes still to come, what does the Reverend make of this moment? Well, we spoke with him about the U.S. election, about racial injustice, and about his new book, Rise Up, Confronting a Country at the Crossroads. Reverend Sharpton, thank you so much for making the time to join us. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate being with you.
So let's get right to it. November 3rd, I mean, it's right around the corner. You tell me, how important is the outcome of this election?
I think it's extremely important because this is not just about an election in the United States. It's about a direction in the United States. We went through a half a century of fighting for civil rights, for blacks, for women, for LGBTQ, for immigrants, and started making some progress. And now with the administration that has come in America, in the United States for the last 3.5 years, they have tried to take us down another road, going back to the pre-1950s.
It's a place and a time Sharpton would rather not return to. And who would have thought a once friendly relationship would turn so sour? Sharpton and Trump go back decades. So let me ask you this. How would you describe your relationship with Donald Trump?
We've always had this up and down relationship. I believed he was transactional. I believed that he would do what was in his best interest as a businessman, as a person, and he was a narcissist. He wanted what would glorify him. But it was when we got into 2006 when he started becoming the face of the birtherism movement.
He gave a birth certificate. Now all we have to do is find out whether or not it was real.
That said to me, this is who this guy really is. He's really a racist and a bigot. And that's when we cut off our relationships.
So much of what we all know about your relationship with Trump is what happens in the public sphere, right? I mean, he's come right out and called you a con man. I mean, right here, just 10 seconds ago, you called him a racist. But what do those private moments actually sound like? I mean, when it's just man to man, Donald Trump, Al Sharpton, what are those conversations actually like?
Well, I'll tell you one. When I started attacking him on my television show for birtherism, I told him I felt it was racist. I felt it was me against them. And I felt that he was playing the racism. He was just as adamant, I'm not a racist. It was not me throwing something across his desk and throwing something back, but it was very candid. Donald Trump is in private. He tries to charm you and persuade you, and then if he can't, he will hold his ground, and I will hold my ground. He called me after the election and invited me to Mar-a-Lago. Said, we disagree, but we can find common ground. And I told him on the phone, I said, I'm not coming to Mar-a-Lago. I'm not going to be in a photo app that you could use. If you want to meet with civil rights leaders, all of us together, as President Obama did, we can do that.
Talk to me about Kamala Harris. In your book, you talk about electability. And specifically, you talk about Kamala Harris and how black women, I mean, historically, have had an electability problem. How does she fit into that?
I think she can be elected. I think that in a nation that could elect and re-elect Barack Obama, that people have grown. When we saw what happened this summer, in the reaction to George Floyd being killed by police in that tape, and I did the eulogy at both of his funerals, and was at many of the rallies and led many of the marches, including the big march on Washington, August 28th. And when I see as many whites, in some occasions, more whites than blacks, I believe the country has grown where electability is very possible now.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
But with growth has come pain for Sharpton. On the way to a rally for 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, who was killed by a neighborhood watchman, just as Sharpton was boarding a plane, he got news his mother had died.
We called for a national rally, and she'd been sick for years, but I don't care how sick your mother is, you never can prepare yourself for that call. And then I thought about my mother would have wanted me to stand up for Trayvon. That's what my calling was, and she always encouraged me to answer my calling. But I think that it is at those junctures in life you find out what you really believe and where your heart lies. And for me, that was probably the hardest rally I ever did. But I did it not only in memory and tribute to Trayvon, but to my mother. That's what she raised me to be, that kind of man.
I have time just for one more question, and it's about the future, but beyond the election. And I want to ask you if you think the American people are actually ready for the kind of change that you've been fighting for, or if you just, I don't know, hope that they are.
I'm not sure America was ready to free the slaves, but the abolitionists were ready and they were able to get it done. I'm not sure they were ready to end segregation, but Rosa Parks and Dr. King and Fannie Lou Hamer were ready. They got the nation ready. So I never ask myself, is the country ready? I ask myself, is enough of us ready to rise up? And we'll get the country ready if we're ready to do that. Who would have thought in 2008 the country was ready to elect a black man who they could hardly pronounce his name, named Barack Obama president? But we got the country ready, and he was elected and was reelected, and we're gonna get the country ready again.
Reverend Sharpton, I know you're a busy man. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear him. He doesn't hold back on Trump. It's interesting to hear him on Kamala Harris. But what about Joe Biden? How does he feel?
Right, yeah, fair question. And I did ask him point blank about Joe Biden because I guess my observation from reading his book was, and I said this to him point blank, you don't exactly seem excited for a Biden presidency for all the things he has to say about Donald Trump. And he didn't exactly dispute that. I mean, he said, sure, you know what? Look, I agree with him on some things. I disagree with him on a lot, but I guess in his measurement, he finds him to be a more reasonable person, someone certainly who he thinks can be made to see the error of his ways, and more than anything else, he wants to veer the country off the path that it started on in 2016.
Interesting to hear from him election night. Next, accusations of voter suppression in Texas.
I have a long list of things that Texas does that are just absolutely insane when it comes to making voting harder.
Why it's so hard for some to cast their ballot in a race tighter than it's been in decades. Welcome back. Texas has been a reliably Republican state in presidential elections, but recent polling suggests a closer race than has been seen in half a century, which means every vote will matter, but will every vote be counted? Will everyone be allowed to vote? Here's David Coleman with the challenges and the specter of voter suppression.
Just about everything in the Lone Star State is bigger and louder. That sure extends to its politics. Texas has been a reliable powerhouse for the Republicans. Vast record-setting lines of early voters snaking for hours appear to be challenging that, just as the ability to vote is itself being challenged.
How can you exclude people from being part of that process if you're a democracy? Removed the barriers for African American men to vote.
Annie Johnson-Benefield teaches in Harris County and is witnessing voter suppression.
When things happen like recently, one drop-off location in a county as large as Harris County, yes, we have a long way to go.
Harris County is 7 times the geographic size of Toronto and one of the biggest counties in the U.S. But there is just one ballot drop-off location for 2.4 million registered voters. Getting to that drop-off and back by public transit could take a full day.
I have a long list of things that Texas does that are just absolutely insane when it comes to making voting harder.
Anthony Gutierrez helps run the voting rights advocacy group Common Cause.
Do you find that this is targeting specific demographics within society, or is it targeting a specific group?
The pattern of voter suppression in Texas over at least the past decade is very clearly aimed at Black and brown communities, poorer communities, people who probably tend to vote more progressively.
You can change your address online.
So as vice president of the League of Women Voters in Houston, it's Annie's mission to get as many people voting as possible. It's also personal for her. Annie's father fought in the Second World War. Didn't even have the right to vote, though, until he was 56, after the Voters' Rights Act was passed. Her mother, now 103, has cast her ballot ever since. A fundamental right, just as important today as it was then.
It's not acceptable in 2020. You can't sit on the sideline. You can't, silence is not golden. You have to get into this fight to keep the democracy that we have. It may not be perfect with warts and all, but guess what? If you're not engaged in the process, you can't have an impact.
Now consider this. In a state that's voted Republican in the last 10 presidential cycles, Democratic-leaning Harris County is shifting the dynamic. If everyone votes in the county, it could mean Texas swings more blue. A game changer in national politics, with the state holding the second most number of electoral college votes nationally.
There are people who have seemed to have come to the conclusion that if they can't win elections, the next best course of action is to manipulate the elections to try to predetermine the outcome, to just make it too hard for the other candidate to win.
With long lines like these, Anthony sees how difficult it is to even make it here and wait, often all day.
If you are kind of like low income, you're working a couple jobs, And the people in power are limiting the times of day when you're able to vote, and the types of identification that you can use to vote, requiring you to go to an office to go get a new form of ID during only these certain specific times. And you have to try to get off work for that, then you have to go try to get off work again to go vote, and you may go show up and realize oh, that line is 4 hours long. It can be hard. There are legitimate reasons why people often just can't vote, even though they really do want to, and it's not an accident, unfortunately.
Meanwhile, Annie wants her students to vote and offers extra credit if they do, all part of her fight continuing into the next generation of voters.
As a democracy, you want everyone to participate. You want all voices heard. You want people to be engaged and participate in the political process, and you want them to be informed.
Informed is one thing, voting another. A high-stakes fight playing out during this election. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
And with the campaign entering its final stretch, we will bring you the story of former Republican operatives and spin doctors who've launched a campaign against Trump.
Trump is not well.
Their spots are mean.
The truth is, I will infect you.
And mocking.
What if you said to Jared and Ivanka, say that you're the most corrupt White House staffers in American history?
Totally true. I love making that charge.
If you're slapping back with mean ads about them, what makes you think that's going to work?
Our ads aren't mean. Our ads are truthful. And this is the process by which we get to communicate to the American people.
I think we want to just create doom in D.C.
We want them depressed and angry.
They are getting under his skin, but are they changing the minds of voters? The Lincoln Project's Punch, tomorrow on The National.
And next on The National, after the hashtags and after the calls for change.
It's given us opportunities that we never would have had.
Are the promises to better support Black-owned businesses being kept? That's right after the break. When George Floyd was killed by police, the calls to fight systemic racism cut across society, and that included the business world as well. Now, as Canadian Black Business Week begins, Jacqueline Hansen checks into whether Black entrepreneurs are seeing any changes.
Less than 2 months after she sold her first candles, Rachel Lee Ricard's got a shout out from Elle Magazine, then BuzzFeed, and Today's Parent.
I do attribute that a lot to the Black Lives Matter movement. With that, it expanded my demographic. People that would not have found me on social media found me.
She says it's a difficult position to be in, watching demonstrations over the deaths of Black men and women, then feeling the spotlight suddenly shine on businesses like hers.
The world has seen us, unfortunately, due to something horrific. It's given us opportunities that we never would have had.
Many Canadian companies promise to do more to support Black Canadians, and there are signs some are taking steps to follow through.
I describe the time that we're in now as a post-George Floyd moment.
The president of the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce says more businesses are seeking her help.
We've received more interaction and more contact with corporate Canada than before. So now I feel that people are deliberately being intentional with where they are going to find employees or where they're going to find companies to partner and to support.
Just last month, the federal government invested more than $90 million in a Black entrepreneurship program to help access bank loans, mentorship, and other training. Also gaining traction, the 15% pledge, a call for major retailers to commit shelf space to Black-owned businesses. Last week, Indigo signed on. Ricard's wants her candles on Indigo's shelves, but isn't entirely sure it would happen.
Will a Black Lives Matter candle or a Love Your Kinks in Your Hair candle, will that be acceptable or just a little bit too Black?
Still, she's hopeful there is space for her, and not just right now, but well into the future. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Next on The National, a simple mistake by an Ottawa baker turned into a sweet tale of community kindness. That's next in our moment. Charlene Burnside is an Ottawa baker, and she went to sell her cupcakes at her first farmer's market and managed to sell $2,000 worth. But the device she was using to accept payment didn't work. Charlene didn't realize until the end of the day she hadn't received a cent. What happened after that is our moment.
We went to our first market. I was very excited because I had this new piece of technology. I had a Square reader. I've never done anything like this before. People were coming along and they were using it and it was great, but it wasn't beeping. And I was like, well, that's weird. So it was showing me all of the transactions, but they were not linked to anybody. I had to accept that it was a loss and that it was my error. So then my sister shared it on Facebook. She's like, if you were there and you remember this vendor and you don't see that the transaction has come through, could you please just make it right and just send it to her? Within 2.5 hours, I had everything back that I lost, plus another $1,200. Like, it's amazing, right? People are so good. People are great.
That is so true. That's quite the story. And here I was, the first time I heard this story, I thought she's going to have to make $1,200 worth of cupcakes and send those out, except she's done the right thing. She's donated that to 2 charities that are dear to her.
Fantastic. And she said she got money from people who said, I don't live in the province, but I admire your work ethic. Got money from people who just wanted to pay it forward in honor of a loved one, or were with small businesses and have felt that pain. That is a national for October 26th. Good night.
Good night.